So, after reaching the semi-finals of the World Cup in the summer, England are back together at St George's Park once again, as Gareth Southgate looks to build upon their experiences in Russia. I'll start with you, Stuart, first of all. For you, how strong is the squad now, and what is the challenge facing Gareth and his staff, building on that success?
It's strong because it's a young squad, you know, and I think that's what Gareth tended to lean to going into the tournament in the summer. The nucleus of the squad that got to the semi-finals is here again, which is good for us. He'll be planning now for 2 years hence to a major tournament, and it's important that, and Gareth's more level-headed than probably myself and the pundits in the game, you know. He'll know that, look, we went to a semi-final, the draw was very kind to us. When you strip it down, we scored 9 goals out of 11 from set plays. He'll be looking to score more goals from open play situations. And we ended up losing 3 out of 7 matches, whichever way you look at it. We got beat by Croatia and Belgium twice, you know, so the glass is either half full or half empty. Gareth will see that for what it's worth, but he knows he's got something to build.
Do you think that's a fair assessment, Tony?
Yeah, he's very good at analysing the summer, and I completely agree with Stuart. I think we got a little bit of luck, good side of the draw, and Gareth fell on a system of play that worked for us. You know, very much like 90 and 96 when me and Stuart played together, you know, in the back three. It kind of worked. I still have issues with it all through the tournament. I was talking about putting Danny Rose in. We didn't have no left-sider. And it'd be interesting to see if he plays Luke Shaw tomorrow. Does he change his system? I don't think he will. He's got a system of play now that he really likes. He likes the three there. I love the back four, you know, I'm going to say that. And there's not many of these guys, well, all of them are not playing.
That would be a huge call now, wouldn't it, Tony?
For the club team, they're all playing four at the back. They're all playing in that system. Stones, Maguire, they're all playing that way. And when they're going to England, they're playing another system. You have to ask Stuart if he liked the back four or a three, but I think that we could do better. It's more suited, this squad of players now going forward. You know, I was very uncomfortable with Walker playing in that. I think he was. You know, 2 goals I put down at the World Cup with Cole playing that right side centre back. You know, I saw Stones against Arsenal. He was, you know, and I've been critical at times of Stones and how he defends, but he was exceptional. He's so comfortable on the ball, he was strong. And Harry, through the tournament, he grew in confidence. And I think you've got 2 there now that possibly could be the kind of backbone of our squad. You know, you've got 2 good screeners in Dyer, and Dyer can always flip back in, you know, like the Brazilians did. They're going down the side with their wing-backs. You know, it's just the same system, really, the 3 at the back. You just pop Eric Dyer in between your 2 central defenders.
But even if Gareth Southgate takes Stuart's line and says, look, we weren't perfect, OK, we enjoyed a little bit of good fortune, but also we revived the fortunes of the country. And what we achieved, no matter how you say, how much credit you give them for achieving it, they achieved with that system. So would you understand why he would not want to change that system at all?
Definitely I would. I mean, if I was in Gareth's situation at the moment and decided to change to a 3 leading into a major finals like that, and we had... Well, you're judged on how far you get in tournaments, irrelevant to who you play or anything of that nature. We got to the semi-final, and our country needed the feel-good factor that Gareth Southgate and his personality delivered.
It would have been brave, wouldn't it, for him to change it completely?
Definitely.
You know, people, Mourinho, I spoke about him earlier, but you know, I think he might have made the call. You know, in 1990, you went in for the Saudi Arabia game, you changed into a back 3. Whatever won the game for you on that day, you know, it's a cup competition, your semi-final of the World Cup. You've got a massive opportunity to do so. Yeah, everyone's going to point to change the system and it goes wrong. They're going to point the finger, but you have to be true to yourself. You have to put the team out there you think's going to get the job done. Now you've lost a few players here. You've gone into an opening game against Spain, very tough opponents, and you're going to go, what's best suited for our squad? Go back. It's the most simple thing to do, to go back into a back 4. Everyone understands it. You know, you've lost your left-sider. You know, you're going to have to make a personnel change anyway. You know, what do you do with midfield? we've got Harry Kane, we've got no forwards in the team. You know, is it a 4-3-3? You know, I think the art of a coach is to get the group of players and put them into a system that's best suited to get the results. So it'd be very brave, and I'm not saying that we'd do any better than the three that's doing, because I still don't think that we're actually there. And there were great strides in the summer, great strides, and the feel-good factor did come back.
Yeah. I think Tone made a good point earlier. It's something I picked up when I was at the World Cup. The fact we had a right-sided left centre-half and a right-sided left wing-back caused us the odd problem. We couldn't forage down that side, and I think when we come up against certain teams, and I think Croatia found us out a little bit, and I think Colombia did as well, they pushed us that side of the pitch, and one of those players has got to be a natural left-sided player, and I think Gareth would have seen that this summer.
Well, first of all, then, let's take the two sides. If, you know, there's a personnel change in it, because Ashley Young isn't in this squad. I believe, you know, that it's certainly not the end of Ashley Young's career, but he's not in this.
He might not be in it for that reason, and maybe that reason alone, that we've got two natural left-siders there.
So where would your vote go for, Danny Rose or Luke Shaw in that position?
I think Luke Shaw's the one on form at this moment in time. I think Danny Rose a year ago was probably the best left-back in the world when he was playing for Tottenham a year and a half ago. He's copped a couple of injuries since.
Well, that's a big statement, Stuart.
It is. Well,
it's your opinion, but
yeah, it's an opinion of mine.
And I was pushing for him to play throughout the tournament in the summer. You know, I just thought it would give us a better balance. We didn't have no left footer. It would have created more crosses. We, like you said, 9 out of 11 goals. Nothing on the left-hand side.
No.
Stick him in. And when we put him on the second half against Croatia or wherever it was, you know, we started to get some balance.
I don't think he was completely fit at the start of the tournament, Danny Rose. I don't believe he was. But when you look at the England defenders there now in this current squad, there's a really interesting conundrum as to what he does on the right side in terms of the centre-back, because Joe Gomez would have gone to the World Cup, we understand, if he hadn't been injured. So we were talking about Kyle Walker, and then who takes the right berth? Because you've got Kieran Trippier, who can obviously play out there. Carl can go out there, and that's not even mentioning Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I play back four. You just want to put people in there because you've got a system of play that works in a particular time and a particular way 3 months ago or whatever it was. And likewise, you know, no team has ever won the World Cup playing back three. It's very rare that they win the Premier League. You know, Chelsea did it with Conte, 3-4-3. I think because it's got a success, Gareth will want to take it. But do you put someone in round pegs and square holes and all that? Or was it square pegs and round holes? One or the other. You're trying to put someone into that position that can't play there, you know, who feels uncomfortable in that position. So I think you're looking at a back four, Trippier, you know, the two central defects, Stones and Maguire, and you've got, you know, Shaw on the left back. It's a simple back four for me with Dyer bringing in. He can make the third central defender. It's a natural thing for him just to come at him with the under-19s. You can drop him back into the back.
Well,
maybe I mean, three there.
Gareth, they've got Spain on Saturday. Then they've got the friendly against Switzerland. He might change between the two games. Would you encourage him to do that?
Absolutely. I think he's got the job. He's done great. The whole country's behind him. He's got licence to do what he feels is right. If he feels the back three will get us into the championships, European championships, then fine. Play your back three. Stick someone in there. Caught Walker again. I think he'd give 2 goals away for me because he was in the unfamiliar environment.
Not his natural position.
Not natural position. So
I would throw this out here at the moment. I think Gareth's going to say to himself, and his group of coaches are going to say, with what we've learnt this summer, how are we going to win the European Championships in 2 years? How are we going to win the World Cup in 4 years? And what individuals and what players need to come to the party for us to do that? I've got a list of players here. I think he likes Joe Gomez very much.
As a centre-half?
Well, we've got an embarrassment of riches at right back or right wing back in Trippier, who's been fantastic. Trent Arnold has been very good and looks as though he can only improve. Walker as well. I think
all right side centre back.
Yeah, whichever way you want to use them. But players like Gomez, Rashford, Loftus-Cheek, Trent Arnold, Foden, and anyone outside that, they've got to improve. And Gareth, not just for their clubs, but for country as well. And that's the conundrum Gareth's got. Yes, qualify. It's most important to qualify. But when we qualify, what system of play are we going to use when we get there in 2 years' time? And can we have that nailed down? Because
I'd play Gomez then, in that Carl Walker, because I think he's best suited for that position. Go and play him.
And that
think about the
dictates
future,
your
but
team
you've
selection.
got to beat these teams that we're playing against now. So that you've got a conundrum.
Yeah.
He's got a conundrum. Does he play for the future, or does he actually play a player that can get the job done now?
OK, let's have a little look at midfield. You talked to Tony as well about the not enough goals, and from open play, I think only Iran created fewer chances than England in the World Cup.
Ouch.
Is that just... It's not just the midfield, but would that be a concern for Gareth?
I think creativity in midfield is probably what we're lacking slightly. I think that's it's an open secret at the moment. We're going to have to find somebody who can not only deliver a pass, but can finish as well from midfield. Like,
is there an sorry, Stuart, to interrupt. Is there an outstanding candidate who's not on that list?
Well, a couple of years ago, people were saying build a team around Wiltshire. People build a team around Ross Barkley. Individuals like that. I would probably say, is there a duty of care for us to develop players slightly better? Even I look at Theo Walcott. Theo come onto the scene at Arsenal and at Southampton, and we thought, wow, this kid's going to be something really special. And his England career's been OK, but it's not welled us and won us a World Cup, has it?
Is he creative? Is Theo
a different type of player.
Don't forget,
certainly not a creative
Sterling
type.
and Lallana coming out of that group as well. But possibly of more concern is what there is in terms of backup to Harry Kane, because he is, England's out-and-out striker. He was our captain as well. So it's...
You've got Danny Welbeck and Rashford as well that's hardly played any games, and they've not really... I'm looking at the midfielders and stuff, and you're trying to get, Henderson for me and Dyer as like holding midfield players. They're the screens for me. Creativity, are they suited to that system again? I'm getting back to the system. If you play 4-3-3 with this team, I can see players maybe playing off the side. Rufus Cheek did it for Palace last season. Lingard can play right side. You've got more options then for Harry Kane on his own through the middle. And then you like the French played 4-3-3, and Fabian Delph, all of a sudden, he comes into play on the left-hand side of the three. So they were very solid. And they had just a bit of flair. I'm talking about the French national team. They had a little bit of flair just with one or two players, But the rest of the seven in behind was very strong and very solid. And I'm seeing that. We lack creativity, but it could be done in a different system. You could actually make it to our advantage.
OK. When you look at the forwards, though, what do you think? Well, I mean, you highlighted the concern first of all. The fact that Marcus Rashford and Danny Welbeck, they're not playing anywhere near enough football that Gareth would like.
Well, that is purely a case of fact, isn't it, really? The fact we've only got 3 names in the forward area is alarming. We had Sterling there, but he's there by default because he's really a midfield player, isn't he? He's a midfield stroke number 10, you name it, but he's not a striker. I think losing Vardy is a real shame. I don't know what the exact situation is there, but for a player coming out of non-league, as he has done, I would have thought he'd be desperate to be meeting up with the squad every possible opportunity. I can understand he'll see himself sat behind Harry Kane.
Your point, though, about are we going to win it with Vardy in 2 years' time?
Well, that is a question as well.
Troy Deeney comes into play. He's banging form and playing. So do you play him to win this game, or do you put a kid in and go on in, Danny? You didn't play at the World Cup. Go on, there's your chance now. I really believe in you. Go and play alongside Harry Kane. It's a real tough one. We've got not many options there.
No,
I'd be very worried about that.
Well, it's interesting that you mention Troy Deeney, Tony, because a few people mentioned him, and it was put to Gareth Southgate today that the Watford striker did indeed had a reasonable claim to be a part of the squad. This was his response.
I think Troy is a player who really suits the way that Watford play, and I'm a big fan of his. I think what he brings to their team and the way that he leads their team in the way that they play and in the games they have. But I think we play slightly differently, and I think that for me the next forward players, that I see that should be challenging some of the younger ones.
I mean, he's basically said exactly what you're saying there, Tony. I mean, you look at Troy Deeney's record there compared to the other English strikers.
Yeah.
On that alone, you think he was in with a reasonable shout.
He's going to play for the kids, and he's going to play the kids. He's going to play, team, kind of the squad. It worked for him in the World Cup. He put a lot of young boys. He mentioned baggage, didn't he, before the World Cup? He said, "I don't want people with baggage, and I'm going to get the kids and let them have a run, and it can only develop them better once you've had that experience." I know me, I had a very bad experience in '88, and I grew from it, and then went into the next one, a better player, a more understanding player. So I'd like him to have given Danny some extra. But this guy he's banging form, isn't he? And he's scoring goals. So do you play him to get the job done and worry about that in 2 years' time?
Well, that is a question for Stuart Pearce.
I think Gareth worded his way round Troy Deeney by saying he's not for me, but I do appreciate he's done a fantastic job, and I would probably have the same mentality. I think he does a fantastic job. He's a shop steward on the pitch he's the Tony Adams of Watford, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's the leader of the team, and
Can't edit like me, Stuart.
Not many can. So he's fantastic for Watford. For me, for England, I'm not sure he's the way forward personally. But it's a great feather in his cap to be mentioned in that respect. I'm still looking at Rashford and thinking. I went up to watch the game at Leeds, the England's friendly just before against Costa Rica, and he was outstanding in that game. And I come away, I got in my car and drove home, and I thought, if I was England manager, I've got to get this kid in the team somehow, because he might be the future of English football for the next 10 years. And I hope he doesn't navigate his career and doesn't have a real impact. He's got the talent to have a real impact, but he needs to be playing at his club, to be loved at his club a little bit more and play regularly at his club, and then hopefully deliver performances for England.
Tell me, Stuart, under 20, when you was 21s, and Gareth was as well with these guys, I'm sure he played 4-3-3.
Yeah.
I'm sure he played in Rashford off the side and Lingard off the other side, Harry Kane through the middle. I remember watching him in training a couple of times. I think this squad is crying out for it. We've got a real lack of kind of natural, we number 10s and stuff, or forwards, as it were. Vardy's out the squad. You ain't going to go for an old, experienced Troy Deeney. So, it just looks like a 4-3-3, and French have had fantastic. There's nothing wrong with defending and being solid and resilient and putting a 4 and a 3, screening in front and being hard to beat. And, we got undone in the last minute, Croatia, and I think he's going, this system's great. But for me, it's a 4-3-3.
Do you have any concerns at all? It may sound ridiculous. Harry Kane, he wins the Golden Boot. He breaks his August duck as well. But right now, Harry Kane's form, do you have any concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I did in the summer. I mean, I'm realistic enough to know that Harry's done winning the Golden Boot at a World Cup. Takes something that is special. Make no mistake about that.
Of course.
But I think his performances over the whole of the 7 games, were okay. And the longer the tournament went on, the more his performances diminished in many ways, So I don't know whether we need to get more help to him on the pitch, because he's going to be England's centre forward for the next however many years. There's no doubt about that, because of the character he is, because of the person he is. There's no doubt. If he doesn't score the goals for England, I would worry about where we're going to go as a national team.
Well, we're seeing it in the games as well, isn't it? And it shows there as well. Fewer shots. Is that an anomaly? Is it just coincidence this season? Is he changed? From what you've seen of Harry Kane, has his game changed at all? Is he dropping deeper?
I think he's certainly for England. I saw him. He was coming deep, playing more or less like a number 10, and he missed in the semi-final, missed a chance early on, and I thought he got tired in the semi, and I would have maybe given an injection with Vardy, 60, 70 minutes just to get back in the game. But he's captain and he gives the team so much, so I can understand Gareth why he's not gone, actually, you're my leader, you're my man. If we get another set play, you're going to get on the end of it. We're going to put some crosses. I think we can do more for him. I think he needs more help. He needs more crosses. He's that type of player, and he needs to be in the box more often, and he needs people to create. stuff for him. So it's about people around him. And I think, getting back to the system again.
He's off again.
I'm off again.
I think we got the message.
We got the message. But I don't, I expected him to start quite brightly, actually. I don't know, when you come back from major tournaments, you're kind of still fit. You've not
lost your fitness.
You've not lost your fitness. You're ready to bang, and I expected them to.
People talk about it in the other way,
well.
though, Tony. They say that they're tired after a tournament.
No,
not a tournament like that. There's certainly not.
I think they'll come back with euphoria.
Yeah,
really.
by Christmas they'll be flagging, and they'll need the rest and stuff. But
I think it's a twofold thing with Harry. I'm seeing it like this: a newfound respect for him. That means defenders are on high alert, which will nullify him in some ways.
Cool.
And secondly, when you play against Tottenham now, because people respect Tottenham as being one of the big six, let's say, they defend a lot deeper, so there's less room. You know, you've got to create something yourself. And I don't think that suits Dele Alli or Harry Kane when you bank up. I mean, we set teams up against them last year at West Ham, and we felt as though if we pushed onto them to free space up for those two, they're going to hurt us. Bank up behind the ball and play counter-attack football, they found it very difficult to break any shackles that we put on them, you know, and I think they're getting that now with Tottenham. Harry is especially, you know, we're going to defend deep and we're going to put numbers in and around you and we're going to try and stifle you.
Yeah, you get a year free, don't you?
You do.
In the Premier League.
Yeah.
You kind of people, but then everyone knows about him, and he's such a fantastic player. They're going to make it priority to not let this guy play. You know, so it's obvious that he's going to struggle, and you have to go to another level. You have to go to another level. And my argument with them Tottenham players are talented group of players. They didn't go over the line in recent years. They should have won the league when Leicester won it, and before that, Harry had a magnificent opportunity to go over the line just to win the league, and I think they would have grown from that and know what times of the season they need to achieve their maximum levels to go over that. They didn't do that, and I think sometimes they become the manager. I'm glad the manager come out and said it. He said we need leaders in the team. You come after the game, you know, we got to beat teams like Watford away from home, and I think he's right. They need to stand up and be counted if they're ever going to win the league.